That's Mem Zion. Amid Aleph on the top, second to top line. Amr B'Seir. Tali. I got
You say 47A or 47B?
47A.
Okay.
47A. I got a summary of the Machlekes Reb Yud and Reb Shimon.
Do you want to close everyone's?
Oh, yeah. So there were three things that were clearly a Machlekes between Reb Yud and Reb Shimon. One was Migu Diskatzai, that if something was muktzah on Bein HaShmashos, it continues to be muktzah the rest of Shabbos. That's only Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. That we said clear. Another thing was muktzah machmas miyos, the candle, the lamp that was used once. That was only Rabbi Yehuda's opinion that it was Asr. Reb Shimon clearly says that just because it's mas, it's not muktzah. You can ner yashan is fine, and then we said that something that wasn't dichri biyadayim, if you didn't yourself decide not to use it, so then that was Rabbi Yehuda's opinion that it was still muktzah. It was like dichri memela. Then we also came across several cases where Reb Shimon agrees that it's muktzah, and that was the last Gemara that we learned was a basis l'davar aser. The candle while it's burning, the lamp while it's burning was a basis, a base for the flame. That Reb Shimon was made to. We said something that was hooked to the mitzvah. That could be the candle itself. But we mentioned this, Reb Shimon would be made regarding sukkah, that there's a concept of muktzah. Something that has totally no use. We said rocks that have no use. Reb Shimon would agree that that's muktzah. And one more thing, Gregor Svitzimukin. Figs and raisins that were designated for to dry out, those became muktzah. Reb Shimon would agree. Okay, so whatever it is, there's a machlekes Reb Yud and Reb Shimon regarding muktzah, and Reb Shimon agrees to a bunch of cases as well that there is muktzah. Okay, now we say on the top, we say Amar Reb Zera, Amar Reb Asi, Amar Reb Yechanan, Amar Reb Chanina. Zera says the name of Reb Asi and the name of Reb Yechanan and the name of Reb Chanina. Chanina is an early Amir in Eretz Yisrael. Reb Chanina Bar Chama was his name. Reb Yechanan held very highly of him, was a student of him. I forget what it says, by his levaya, he burnt a lot of clothing. Amar Rabbi Ruminus. Reb Chanina says in the name of Rabbi Ruminus. What does Rabbi Ruminus say? He says, Li hitter Rebbe letaltal machta ba'afra. Rabbi Ruminus says that Rebbe actually allowed me to carry a pan that was used for incense together with the ashes. Now, the assumption here is that ashes are muktzah. They have no use. The pan is a base for the ashes. And he's saying that Rebbe allowed me to carry this pan, even though it's a base for something that's muktzah. There's a big chiddush here because Rabbi Yechanan holds of muktzah. He passed on like Rabbi Yehuda. Remember, Rabbi Yechanan said, Amar lei Reb Zera l'Reb Asi. Reb Zera said this over in the name of Reb Asi. Reb Zera has this conversation first with Reb Asi. He says, Mi amar Rabbi Yechanan hachi. Could Rabbi Yechanan actually have said that Rebbe would allow this? Vatanan, we have a Mishnah. It's a common issue. You have the children, they play with muktzah. Here, the child is playing with a stone, which is muktzah. Person is allowed to pick up his son that's carrying the stone in certain situations. The Gemara says Gemara later on says, it's only if the child would actually get sick, he needs the father. He's yeshli gagu, and he's like, pick me up, afraid, he's like crying. The father's allowed to, in that situation, pick him up. Normally, if the child is carrying muktzah, you're not supposed to lift him up, because that's indirectly moving the muktzah. But here, there was an exception, a dispensation, that because of the situation, you're allowed to pick him up. A kalkala, or a basket, and there's a rock in it. What's the dispensation here? It's talking about that the basket also had fruits in it. And even then, I think the Gemara later on says that you were also doing it in an abnormal way. You were tilting it or something. There was some other reason. Whatever the case is, we're seeing time of this paper. Even in that case, you have a basket that has in it a stone. It's only if there's fruits in it. What do you have here in this fire pan? This incense pan. That's what is there that's making it mutter to move? This is a basas l'davar aser v'amutter. If it's a base, this is where we get this idea of putting a challah or a sefer on the table that the candles are on, because the table becomes a base for the candles when Shabbos comes in. But if you have something there that's chashuv, so then it becomes a base for two things. The problem with and then you should be allowed to move it after it goes out. It didn't become a base just for a muktzah. The problem is that I have a pan that's used for incense, that all there is in it is ashes, and Rebbe said you can move it. So it's a base, a basis for just something that's muktzah. So Rabasi, who's being asked the question, the Gemara uses a term. It says a shtoimim kasha achada. That's an expression that means he got shocked, was baffled. I don't know the answer. So V'amar, but he says, I guess he comes to, he says, hachanami despekratin. It has small pieces of levina. Remember in the Beis Menachem, we had Avram Nosson got us that levina, that little fire thing with the yellow pieces, the frankincense. There were still a few pieces of frankincense left that weren't burnt. So that's why Rabbi Ruminus was allowed to carry it. It had some value, a useful value. Okay, like this time, frankincense doesn't look like that.
That's the little boy's hand.
Oh, that's the little boy. Okay.
I'm a little bit behind in the pictures.
Okay. So Ravasi gave an answer. Amar Abaya says, Kratim be Rebbe Michashive. What's going on over here? Kratin is the little granules of levina. Is that considered valuable in the house of Rebbe? Rebbe was a wealthy man. Rebbe, it says that he had snain v'chazeres. He had radishes and I guess lettuce, even in the summer and in the winter. So these little grains are going to have value, that it's going to make the pan not muktzah. Abaya goes to prove that this is how it works, that it goes by the individual. It doesn't go by just in general. Last week, someone was writing the signs of a kosher animal. That was last week, right, Shmini? There was split hooves and malagera. So he's saying that this are the two ways of learning in yeshiva. One is split hooves. You learn B'iyun, you divide everything up into two dinim. Make a chakira. The other one is malagera. Is they say you do chazara. That's not. You do chazara. That's it. There's learning B'iyun and then there's doing chazara. So malagera was doing chazara. It says a person has to do both. Sometimes he's in the mood of learning B'iyun, learning new things, whatever. But the whole year you have to do this. And he says that Rebbe and Antoninos, they had Snoin b'chazeres the whole year. Snoin is learning sharp, and chazeres is chazara. So you have to always do both. And that's so in Rebbe's house we're going to have the Levina. It says v'chitema chazalaniyim. Maybe you'll say, okay, so for Rebbe it's not, but it's good enough for the poor. So therefore, it's not muktzah. Tanya, but there's a brisa, big de'aniyim la'aniyim, big de'ashirim la'ashirim. When it comes to tumah, it needs to be a beged, needs to be considered a beged to become tamid. So there's different sizes of a beged. It could be 3 etzbayis is for aniyim. But for ashirim, it needs to be 3 tvachim. So aval daniyim lashirim line. But a beged that would have been a beged for an ani in the hands of an usher is not considered a beged. What's he going to do with it? Now we'll use it as a mask. But it was too small. It wasn't. It didn't have use for him. For the usher, he would throw it out. It was a scrap. So you see, it goes by the person. So it's a shvacha teretz. You're telling me that it's not muktzah because there's a few grains there. Abai gives his own teretz. Here, there's an interesting. There's a graf shalrei. There's a bucket that was used for a chamber pot. It was used as a bathroom. You were allowed to move it, even though, of course, it's muktzah. But because of pleasantness of Shabbos, they gave a special exception. It's something that was totally disgusting. You're allowed to move it out. Yeah, I remember I asked Rabbi Marlowe if a cockroach is under the same category on Shabbos. I forgot what he told me. It says it depends for the women. So he told me something like that. So there's a special heter, something so gross that it's either you or it. So it was a heter to move it. So Abai is claiming that this pan that's giving off incense is like a graf shalrei. Amar Rava says, state tshuvas b'davar. I have 2 questions on that. Tshuvas are retorts. So usually tshuvas are answers. Tshuvas is also a question. 2 responses. First of all, chada graf shalrei mas v'haylei mas. This is you're exaggerating how disgusting this is. It's just ashes. It's not a graf shalrei. Graf shalrei is something disgusting. Apparently, over the pan was some sort of I don't know, like a netting or what's used like a steamer. Like a steamer, you have holes in the pot. There was some sort of thing like that was going over to allow the smoke to go up, but it was actually covered, and there were holes in it for the smoke to rise. So he's saying this is covered. It's not like you're seeing it or something. It's just that it allows the smoke to go up. So it's different than the graf shalrei. Elama Rava has a different pshat. Ki avinan bei Rav Nachman. Rava says, when I was in the house of Rav Nachman, havi mital talinan kanuna agav kitma. We would carry a kanuna because of the ash. Who's saying this? Rav is saying this in the house of Rav Nachman. Okay. House of Rav Nachman would carry a kanuna. Kanuna is a modern, in a modern days, this would be a heater that you can move around. So in those days, it was a type of heater that you would put in like coals, and you could move it to a different room or whatever to heat up the heat, to get heat from it. It was a portable heater. And they would move it, why? Just for the ash. They would move it around just for the ash. Why? Because if there was something that you wanted to cover over, you would use the ash to cover it over. It's like an ashtray, but the ashtray, no one uses the ashes for anything. Those days, if there was something that you didn't want, so it was like some spit or something on the floor, you wanted to cover it, so you would take the ash and sprinkle it on it, it would cover it over. So the ashes have a use. Changes the whole thing. You thought the ashes was muktzah. The ashes are not muktzah. Over there were broken pieces of wood that were absolutely muktzah, but the ash was not muktzah. And we were allowed to carry the kanuna because of the ash made it not muktzah, even though the wood was making it muktzah. The ash overpowered, made it not muktzah. So too, over here you have an ash with a pan. So the ash is not muktzah. Okay, now the Gemara has a question. Meisvei b'shavim shim yesh ba shivrei psila shasa l'taltel. What is this question going on? It's going on the original. Do you have any commentary there? What is the Meisvei going? Who's it asking a question? It's mamish going back on the beginning. That you're allowed to carry a ner yashin b'Shabbos. No, that's the question. It's Kashan of Nachman. We said it's going on the Kanuna case. He said it's going on. There's an issue here with the Shivrei Eitzim. Rava said that he would carry the Kanuna, this heater, because of the ash, even though it had little pieces of wood there. The little pieces of wood were muktzah. Why are they muktzah? Because they're meant to be burnt, and on Shabbos you can't burn them. So it's just just plain wood you can't carry around. So this question goes like this. Both Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon agree, V'shavin they agree, Shemesh b'shivri psila shasa l'taltal, that if there's pieces of wick that are in the lamp, even Reb Shimon would agree that you're not allowed to move it because the piece of wick makes the lamp muktzah. In other words, I guess the oil in the lamp that's left in the lamp doesn't have enough value to make it. If you would have doesn't have enough value to make the lamp into a basis for the oil, because there's also a wick in there, and the wick is worthless. So the wick versus the oil, it still remains muktzah. So he's asking, if I have shivrei eitzim, broken pieces of wood together in this pan with the ash, in the kanuna rather, with the ash, it should remain muktzah, just like the wick makes the lamp muktzah. Even though normally Reb Shimon said that the lamp wouldn't be muktzah, even though it was used already. But if there's a piece of a wick in there, so that has no use. So it becomes muktzah. So Amar Abaya B'Kli Lashon. Abaya says that over there, the wick was muktzah and the oil was not muktzah. So you have to see which one is more significant. So in that case, the reason why they both agreed, even Reb Shimon agreed, that the lamp is considered muktzah is because it was in an area where they didn't have enough wicks. So therefore, that little bit of wick had more value than the oil. And the wick was muktzah, so that made the lamp muktzah. However, over here, the ash was more significant than the broken pieces of wood. Or let's go to that case. In that case, in a place where wicks are common, so then the oil has more value than a worthless wick. And the oil would make the keli not muktzah. So I forget what it says. We always put on a sefer on the table. But it says something. Other opinions hold that you can put a challah, but it has to have the value. I think it says a sefer for sure has the value of the candles or something because it's so chashuv. It doesn't have monetary value, but I think it means that's for sure considered chashuv. If you put something else on it, that may not have the chashivas of the candles, and the table will end up becoming a basis.
I have two questions. From the language that he said before, Li Hiti Rebbe Letaltal Machta, does it sound like it was specific to him, or there was a special exception, or the language of Hitir means it was like a heter, but not to be given to everybody? Normally they say, in front of me I did this, but uses the word Li.
I understood that he was emphasizing that he was mamish, it happened to him himself. That he knows this for a fact.
Language Hitir is not like a heter that we use now?
I don't think so.
Okay. The second thing is when it's said by Kavini Berav Nachman Kiguna Agav Kitma, why don't they also make the difference between Rebbe of Anim and Ashirim? Maybe by Rav Nachman, this was for the poor people, they used the Afer. But in Rebbe's house, for sure, this would not be something that would be used.
So one second. I believe Reb Nachman and Rebbe would be the same status.
They're both
wealth. They're both wealthy. Yeah.
Because he was the son-in-law of Reish Galusa.
I think so. I don't know the difference actually, if this was something that was done specifically in wealthy people's houses or not. But even if yes, I think that this would line up. Okay. We're holding by Levi. You see that? Levi Bar Shmuel. It's not the Levi that we know from the student of Rebbe. This is Levi Bar Shmuel. Can't be Shmuel's son. I think Shmuel only had daughters that we know of. Levi Bar Shmuel Ashkechinu l'Rab Abba l'Rav Huna Bar Chia d'Avikaimi Apischa d'Bei Rav Huna. Okay. Levi Bar Shmuel, he finds Rab Abba and Rav Huna Bar Chia that are standing on the gates of the yeshiva or the house of Rav Huna. Amalu ma'al ha'achzir mita shel trisim b'Shabbos. This is a new story. topic, sort of. Are you allowed to assemble a bed that gets put together? For us, this would be like an army cut, you just put it together. But this Tarsium, Rashi gives two interesting translations. It's either coppersmiths or it's weavers. And they would travel from place to place, and when they would put out their things, they would set up a little table. So this was something that could get assembled easily. Are you allowed to assemble this on Shabbos? So this is what he's asking these two rabbis, Rabab and Rabuna Barchia. Amrulay, Shafridam. Say yes, no problem. Okay. Asalakami the Rav. They comes to Rav Yehuda Amar. Rabbi Shmuel Damar Tavaya Machzim Mitzvah Shal Tzitzim B'Shabbos Chayv Chatas. Well, it's an extreme. One says mutter, one says Chayv Chatas. What's the problem? Why should it be Chayv Chatas? So Rashi over here says that it's Makeh B'Patish. See, there's an issue. There's no binyan v'stir v'kelim officially. There's machlekes if there's binyan v'kelim. Rashi follows the opinion that there's no binyan in stir by kelim. Assembly, building and deconstruction. Construction and deconstruction doesn't apply to utensils. So what's the issue here? Why should be chayv chatas? Well, it's makeh b'patish. Even if it's not a concept of construction, but the last blow of the hammer that finishes it, that makes it into a vessel, that is a malacha. That makes it into the malacha. That makes it into the vessel. So that's the malacha makeh b'patish. Makeh b'patish means, it's called the blow of a hammer, makeh b'patish. But it's actually, when you finish the work, I think, they would straighten out the hammer at the end. The hammer could bang it just to make it flat again. Or maybe it's just the last blow of a hammer to make the vessel into a vessel. So that's the expression that's used for completing the job. Doesn't have to do with the hammer. And look, even sometimes the suit has a thread in the thing, but you have to take it out or something. And then, I think there's a makeh b'patish by taking out that thread. So that's the last thing, and now it's usable. So whatever is the last thing here, putting this together is considered makeh b'patish. It's chayv chatas. There's a question on the lenient opinions. If there's a menorah, a candelabra that has arms that can be removed, could be that the way that they would remove it, they could use it independently, or they could join it together. So if someone assembles that, he's chayv chatas. Knes sayadin. This is like they call it like a telescope pole or something, where you can add things to it. This was plaster that they would apply, and they could make it longer or shorter. So you're not supposed to put it together, but if you did assemble it, he's pater abalasser. What's the difference over here? This was more common. You take it apart more commonly, just putting together, taking apart. Something that the pieces were there it was meant to be done like that. Now it says, Sima Yomer, Karen Agula Chayev, Karen Pshuta Pater. This is a musical instrument. We need the Aaron Margolis. I don't know exactly what it looks like. There's two types. One is round and one is straight. One of them, in the round one, the pieces were put in much tighter. It was considered a maisa uman. To put it together, you needed a craftsman to put it together. In the straight one, it had holes, but they would put like pipes into the holes, and then when they would blow it, it would make the sounds. But in the straight one, it would be it was easier to do. Anyone could put it in. So he says in the straight one, you're pater, but in the agula, in the round one, in the round sort of horn, So that's chayiv chatas because that's a real assembly. Okay. Kasha on Rab Abba and Rab Huna that allowed the Levi Bar Shmuel to put together a bed. It's like a menorah. Yeah, what do you mean? You said you could just go ahead and do it. No one says you can do it. Maybe potter, but just to go ahead and do it, it's probably even chayiv chatas. So the Gemara says in the Damar Ki Aitana. The Gemara doesn't answer up this comparison. The Gemara just says, yeah, we know this brisa. He has another brisa. Tanya was taught in a brisa. Mal bene samita. This is for the bed. The legs of the bed would sink into the ground and could rot. They would put it in some sort of holder so that the bed wouldn't, the bottom of the legs shouldn't rot in the ground. They had dirt floors. The karesamita and then the actual legs of the bed. Ulevachim shel skivas. Okay. I don't know if there's a word for this, but I'm understanding from Rashi is that there's a bow and arrow. And you pull the arrow back on the bow. At the end of on the bow itself, there's some sort of guide over there that holds it, a piece of wood, something that along the center of the bow that you're supposed to aim with. That piece of wood, that's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like. Rashi gives me a French word for it. Arbalestra. So that piece of wood, la yachzer, all of these things la yachzer, these the bed legs, the holders for the bed legs, and for this piece of wood, b'mhichzer pater. If you put it back, it's pater abalasa, but you're not allowed to do it. And it says v'la yitka, don't nail it in. But if he nails it in, then he's chayiv chatas. Okay. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel Leimer im hayirafi mutter. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel is the opinion we're looking for. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel holds that if it's put in loosely, then it's mutter, mamish mutter, not just that it's potter. So the opinion of Rab Abba and Rav Huna Bar Chia that allowed him to put it together follows Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. It's easy. You have Reb Shimon ben Gamliel that says it's not a problem. So apparently the trussiyim, this type of bed that was made for the coppersmiths or for the weavers, was put together in a weak manner. Wasn't so tight. This is concerned. So why did Rav and Shmuel say that it was us? Why did Rav and Shmuel say that it's chayiv chatas? If it's put together weak. He says maybe that was only when it was tight. Okay. Bei Rab Chama have a mita galal nisa. In the house of Rab Chama, they had a bed that was like this. It's like a trussium bed. So that could come apart and you put together, you can move it around. And they would assemble it on Yom Tov. This student says to Rava, Rashash over here changes it to Rav Chama. Says it doesn't fit that Rava should have to answer for Rav Chama. He says to Rava, Rav Chama, my daitach, what do you hold about this? About putting the bed together. Binyan Menatzadu, what do you think? Maybe you say that because you're not putting it together so tightly, it's not considered a real assembly. Binyan Menatzad, it's abnormal, so it shouldn't have the malacha. He says, 1 second. Nihidi sur der Aiselek, sur der Abanan. Nihidi sur der Aiselek, sur der Abanan miyaka. It's definitely asr der Abanan. Just because it's minatzad doesn't make it mutter. So how is Rav Chama allowing this? Amalei, anak Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, spherely, damar ma yirafi mutter. I hold like Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. Easy. It's allowed to do this. We set up tables on Shabbos. Open it up, and it's not a problem. Folding tables. I don't know if, like, let's say, putting in a leaf in a table, if that would be an issue. A dining room table, you pull it apart, you add another leaf. I don't know if that would be a problem on Shabbos. That's not something that's like just made to go up and down. It's like, I don't know. Okay, we have a Mishnah. It says, "Neisen keli tachas haner lekabel nitzaitzis, leyitim techemaya pnei shu mechaber." You're allowed to put a vessel under the lamp to catch the sparks, but don't put water in it, because that's mechaber. The sparks that fall out, that come out of the lamp, are going to go out in that water. Big chiddush. You're doing this Erev Shabbos. You're not allowed to do it even Erev Shabbos. You're not allowed to put the water there even Erev Shabbos. The Gemara is going to discuss this. This doesn't mean I use oil on Shabbos. I put water under because you have the glass cups. So I put water under the oil. Water under the oil. The reason why I do it is, first of all, if you fill it up to the top with oil, so it's going to burn until Motzei Shabbos. And also becomes very hard to clean with the floating wicks. As it sinks down, it turns the thing black. So what you do is you put water in it and you put the oil on the top. It raises it up. It's much easier to clean. So it says clearly in Shulchan Aruch, it's not a problem. It doesn't. That's not what this Mishnah means. This Mishnah means that you put water outside the lamp. Sparks that come out to go out immediately. This is going to go out when it gets to the bottom of the oil. It's going to go out. It's whether it's on the floor whether it's on the bottom of the holder, or if it's on the water. Okay. The Gemara asks a question. What are you saying that you're allowed to put a vessel under the lamp to catch the sparks as long as there's no water in it? It's not so simple. If the sparks go in it, the keli is going to become muktzah, and that was a malacha. That we said you weren't allowed to do that. Whatever the case was, Rashi said two explanations. Either it's you're not allowed to make a keli muktzah. Either it's like breaking it, or if it's like cementing it to its place. So Amar Rav Huna was a kasha of Chisda before, I think. Amar Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua. Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua answers, and he said the same thing, mamash. Doesn't become muktzah. The sparks fall into it, but the sparks don't have any substance, and you can still move the vessel. So the vessel doesn't become muktzah, so it's not a problem. Okay, that's an easy answer. You can't put water in because it's going to extinguish the sparks when they fall in. 1 second. Our Mishnah must be following the opinion of Rabbi Yaisi. It's a Stam Mishnah. It's a Stam Mishnah goes like Rabbi Yaisi. You can't cause extinguishing. You're not actually extinguishing it. You're putting water in there, so when the sparks fall in, they'll be extinguished on their own. So it's very interesting. The Gemara later on discusses if a fire breaks out, if you're allowed to protect an area by putting barrels full of water to stop the fire from going. Rabbi Yaisi says there's a problem with new barrels. The fire is going to hit it, and the water is going to break the barrels. The water is going to come out and put out the fire, a firewall. So Rabbi Yaisi says gram kibbeh is asur. Our Mishnah says you can't put a plate of water next to the lamp because the sparks are going to go into it and going to get extinguished. You didn't put it out. The water that was there put it out. You're only causing the sparks to go. See, our Mishnah is Rabbi Yaisi. That gram kibbeh is asur. Gemara says v'tizvra. Do you really think that this is exactly the same case? It's not similar. Eimer damar Rabbi Yaisi b'Shabbos. Rabbi Yaisi only held that you can't set up those barrels to stop the fire on Shabbos itself. Erev Shabbos miyamar. He said you can't put barrels of water before Shabbos. No one's ever said you can't do barrels of water. It's on Shabbos that you're not supposed to put the barrels of water. So of course it's a fire there's no danger to life. Otherwise you're allowed to put it out. But if it's it's no danger to life. It's a fire in an open area. It's just going to burn something. So on Shabbos you're not allowed to put the barrels. Maybe you say that our discussion here is talking about on Shabbos. You're not allowed to put a plate of water only on Shabbos. See, our Mishnah is interesting. It didn't tell us if it's on Shabbos or not. Maybe you could say that our Mishnah is actually talking about on Shabbos as well. Nice and Keli Tachzanel Kabbalah says on Shabbos. And Leighton Maim Mipnei Shemachavos is on Shabbos. And okay, now that it would fit with your Gesi. Gemara says you can't say that because we have a brisa. Nice and Keli Tachzanel Kabbalah says b'Shabbos. I'm allowed to put the plate there on Shabbos. Yes. Vein Tzarech Lemer Be'erev Shabbos, and for sure I can put it there on Friday. I can't put water in it because it's extinguishing Be'erev Shabbos. Even on Friday, I can't put it there. Vein Tzarech Lemer B'Shabbos, and for sure not on Shabbos. So it sounds like that you don't have any. What are we left with? That even Rabbi Yossi didn't say that it's Aser on Erev Shabbos. Gemara answers, Elam Ravashi, Afilu Teim Rabbanan. You could really say, so 1 second. I wanted to say it's Rabbi Yossi. The problem was that Rabbi Yossi only says that it's Aser on Shabbos. On Erev Shabbos, he never said this. Now we're saying that this is even on Erev Shabbos. So it's not Rabbi Yossi. It's worse than Rabbi Yossi. This is Gram Kiba even on Erev Shabbos. Okay. Elam Ravashi Afilu Teim Rabbanan. Even according to the Rabbanan that say that it's mutter, Gram Kiba. Gram Kiba was you put the barrels there because a fire broke out. You put barrels of water. The barrels are going to burst and put out the fire. Over there, you didn't light the fire. You didn't do anything really. The fire is burning, and the fire is going to cause the barrels to burst, which you didn't do. You put the barrels in, but you didn't light the fire that's going to cause it. So the Rabbanan hold that you're not responsible for that kibbutz. Over here, you lit the fire. You put the plate there. You're causing this. You're involved in both sides of this. So this is something that even the Rabbanan would agree to as Asa. Over there, you're not involved, and so it could be that our Mishnah here is really the Rabbanan, that allow you over there to put barrels of water in front of a fire, because over there it's permissible because you didn't light the fire and you're not the one that's causing it to burst. It's the fire that's going. That wasn't your doing. Okay. So this could even be, our Mishnah could even be the Rabbanan. Hadran Allah, Kira, this is a big parak. Laws of Bishal, laws of Muktzah. Now we start by Met Taimnin. With what are you allowed to insulate a pot? There's two separate halachas. There's Erev Shabbos, insulating a pot, and then there's on Shabbos. On Erev Shabbos, you're not allowed to insulate a pot in anything that adds heat. And on Shabbos, you're not allowed to insulate a pot on anything, even if it doesn't add heat. We said add heat means that the decomposition of whatever material there would give off heat, the chemical reactions. So now we're talking about Erev Shabbos. What are you allowed to do hatmana? What are you not allowed to do hatmana? It says like this: Ein taimnim, can't do hatmana, lay b'gefes. Gefes is the pulp of what's left over
Talking about on Shabbos?
No, it's talking about on Erev Shabbos.
So
on Shabbos for sure it's a problem. This is on Erev Shabbos because it's Meisiv Hevel. Meisiv Hevel, it adds, apparently the olive skins and the olive pulp and all of that gives off.
Theoretically, until Shabbos, you wouldn't have done any Avera because you can go on Friday, on Tuesday.
Right.
So it's
right.
Shabbos.
It's a gzeira.
Sorry?
It's a gzeira. The gzeira for Erev Shabbos is shemayatmin beremetz. If you're allowed to put it into something that adds heat, you may end up putting it into the ash from the fire. You say, I'll put it in the ash from the fire. That's in the stove, and then there may be still some embers that are burning. That could be a malacha. Yeah, now you would do this on Erev Shabbos. Say, look, I'll just put it in over there. It's all out. It's not a problem. But then it's going to be a real problem when you take it out. You're going to be moving the coals that could still be burning in that ash. You thought it's just ash. Really, there's things there. So therefore, you're not allowed to add it. You're not allowed to be matmin in anything that's hot. Even only on Erev Shabbos you have that. Even on Erev Shabbos, you're not allowed to add and be matmin in something that gives off heat. So we included in that anything that gives off heat through chemical reactions as well. You see this, I saw the people that have compost, if you put your hand inside, if you're that daring, it's hot. It's unbelievably hot. It's very surprising. So yeah, what is it? No, but it's mamish gives off heat. Okay. So the Gemara has a question: is it olive, or is it only olive, or is it also sesame? That's a problem. Tashima, come and listen. Reb Zera teaches in the name of one of the yeshiva of Reb Yanai. Kupa shetaman ba asalanichal gefesh shel zeisim. Okay. a box that they filled it with like some sort of stuffing, some cloths or materials, and then you put a pot inside it. Okay, so you did atmana with this mukin. Now mukin is not a problem with this cloth because if it's not wet, it's fine. It's only a problem. You're allowed to wrap a pot in a towel, or these types of cloths or whatever. Is if it's dry. I don't know if a towel is wet. I don't know if that's the same as mukin. But if it's dry, it's not a problem. However, you then can't take it and put it on top of gefes shel zaysim, on the pulp from the olive press. Why? Because the heat from that is going to rise. And it's going to be meisiv hevel, even though in your hatmana itself there's no heat. But now together with the gefes shel zaysim from under it, it's going to go up. And you're actually doing hatmana, and it's meisiv hevel. The combination of it is hatmana and meisiv hevel. But whatever the case is, we see that it was only zaysim. We see it wasn't sesames. Okay, we have an answer. The Gemara says no. I can tell you if you were actually doing hatmana, could be that sesame pulp is also forbidden, even though it only gives off a small amount of heat. Why? So why over here did we say just olives? It goes like this. Linyan asuke. When it comes to the heat rising, so then on top of memches, havla dezeisim maski, havla shumshmin lei maski, havla dezeisim maski. How to read this? Linyan asuke havla. Dezeisim maski havla shumshmin lei maski havla. When the heat is going up from underneath, that's only an issue if you're using olive pulp. And if you're using sesame pulp, then it's not going to reach the hatmana that's above it. The heat's going to dissipate by the time it gets to what's there. But if you were wrapping it into sesame itself, so then the heat would be going into the pot, and you would be adding heat from the sesame. So the fact that you brought a raya from what you placed on top of the pulp, that's no raya. This could be a still usher to do actual hatmana in sesame. Okay, let's leave it over here.